programme you cannot afford to miss. Yes, hello and good evening and welcome to Watchdog. We're live from Television Centre. Tonight, are you paying too much tax? The boss of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs is here. I'll be asking her why her staff keep getting their sums wrong and why you can never get through to their call centres. Also tonight, after Crown, Dulux, their paint makes my house smell, say customers. What are the companies going to do to stop the stench? The pound's up against the euro, but using your credit card abroad can still wipe out the gains. Martin Lewis on how to protect your holiday money. And those anti-cellulite knickers from M&S. We've been testing them for the last month. The results are in.
Yes, meet Linda, Helen and Faith, who've been wearing those pants for the last 28 days. Now that's what you call dedication to the cause. But has the combination of fabric, vitamin E and aloe vera and caffeine improved how their skin looks as M&S promised? Or would they have been better off saving their £29.50 and opting for any old tight-fitting underwear? Stay with us as the pants come off.
I'm not going anywhere. On Road Traders tonight, a saleswoman who really won't take no for an answer. She's not the kind of girl you want to take home to your mum, unless you want to subject your mum to this.
If I can get enough knocked off that, do you think that you'd like to go for them?
I'd still like to consult my daughter though.
Do you want to give her a ring? If you don't fancy writing a cheque, we could do it on a debit card. That's the only sheet it is, look, and it'll take me 2 minutes to do it.
Do you mind if you just go and leave me?
The old lady, thankfully, was an actress, but the saleswoman was playing for keeps. You see, she and her colleagues get very tasty commission for selling mobility products to the frail and vulnerable. Keep watching. You won't believe just how low they can stoop.
First, though, the taxman, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, as it's now called, and it affects all of us, deciding how much tax we pay, keeping track of national insurance contributions and making deductions from our pensions. So it's not unreasonable to expect accuracy, efficiency, the highest standards. But in fact, nearly half of taxpayers' calls go unanswered. Complaints about rudeness are rife, staff morale is dire. And that's according to the Treasury Select Committee. And when it comes to their mistakes, we have no comeback. Dom Littlewood reports.
First, the good news. A mistake by the taxman can be a pleasant surprise. Ask Bournemouth pensioner Elizabeth Jenkins, who applied for a £33 rebate. Last week, HMRC sent her a cheque for £1,511,533. Oh, and 80 pence.
What I thought immediately was how nice it would be to have that amount of money, and things went through my mind about what I would do with it if it was mine. Well, what I'd like to do is, if I can keep it, is to put it in a frame and hang it on the wall and look at it occasionally and imagine I'm a millionairess.
Sadly, when it comes to Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, we don't hear from many people like Elizabeth. Instead, Watchdog gets letters from taxpayers like Andy Wigg.
The operational system they've got at HMRC is shambolic. There are not enough people on the front line to be able to make decisions, look at individual cases. The people you speak to, all they do is look at a screen and say, somebody will get back to you.
And Richard Lavier.
If I ran my business the way that Revenue are running theirs, I wouldn't be in business for very long.
HMRC owes both men money. Andy overpaid his tax by £700 and has been waiting since November for a refund. He's had months of excuses about backlogs and computer glitches. Then, in March, he was told his files had been lost.
I was becoming very, very frustrated and actually angry that money that I'd overpaid in tax and was due as a rebate was sitting in the government's tax funds, and I wanted it back.
So does Richard. HMRC owes him £1,700, but he's been told they're not processing claims at the moment.
If this was any other company on earth, we would have some recourse. We could take them to a small claims court, but you can't do that with the Inland Revenue. They hold all the cards.
These cases aren't unusual. We've even heard of one man who was £53,000 out of pocket for over 9 months, all because HMRC had recorded incorrect information. And despite holding on to that money for all that time, they didn't refund a penny's worth of interest. That's all very annoying and even harder to stomach when you see what HMRC are doing to others. When it comes to tax, it seems there's one rule for those who are paying it and another for those who are collecting it. If you're late with your taxes, you'll have to pay interest in excess of the Bank of England base rate. And you may also be liable for a 5% surcharge. On top of this, HMRC's recently brought out a whole new set of penalty rules, and they can now fine you if they even suspect you've made a mistake. Quick to hand out penalties and fines, but you'd think HMRC were an organisation that were a little more understanding about mistakes. After all, they make enough of their own. Like in 2007, when they lost a disc containing the details of all 25 million child benefit claimants. And just 2 weeks ago, when they admitted sending 50,000 tax records to the wrong people. But there are many more affecting individual taxpayers. Take pensioner Kath Holt. You know that old gag about death and taxes being the only two inevitable things in life? Well, she doesn't find it funny anymore.
My husband received a letter from HMRC at Exeter, and it was addressed to the executor of the late Mrs. K.A. Holt.
You?
That's me, yes. And saying that I'd actually died May the 25th of that year, 2009.
How did you feel about a letter like that arriving?
It should never have happened. And the reason that we were given is that they were transferring information from an old system to a new computer system, and there was a blip.
And there have been more blips since. According to HMRC records, she died a second time last year. Kath then thought that was sorted, but then in February this year they failed to pay her pension. The reason?
They still had me dead, even though HMRC had categorically assured me that my account was brought up to date and there shouldn't be any more problems.
How many times did they resurrect you?
3 times.
You look well for a woman who's come back from the dead 3 times, I've got to say.
Thank you.
HMRC blamed a computer glitch for mistakenly killing off Kath, and it seems the technology has created a new problem. HMRC recently admitted that up to 100,000 people are now paying too much tax after being put on the wrong tax code. Entrepreneurs and pensioners are the most affected. We spoke to one company who provide pensions to just under 25,000 former employees. And they tell us they have had more than 1,000 phone calls in the last 4 months from its members, all querying their tax codes. But consider yourself lucky if you've only been the victim of one mix-up. 83-year-old Richard Mills has received 11 different tax codes since January.
For, I think, 15 or 20 years, I hadn't heard a word from the tax office in any form at all, and then suddenly to get 8 or 10 different tax codes, well, you know, it's beyond a joke, isn't it?
Richard stopped working 23 years ago, and his circumstances haven't changed since. With 2 private pensions and an income under £10,000, he hasn't had to pay tax since he retired. Suddenly this year, HMRC told him he did. They lowered his allowance and took it straight out of his pension 2 months in a row.
He got no income in March, no income in April, and they still took a little piece in May, and only now are we beginning to return to normal. Essentially, by lowering his tax code, the error has cost him £408 that he shouldn't have paid, and as of this moment, he hasn't had that money back.
It seems that the tax office has got total control over one's pension, and well, when you are on a pension, of course, it's not easy to meet your bills, etc. They're just a bunch of idiots. They really are.
Well, with me now is Leslie Strathy. She's Chief Executive of HMRC, so she knows where you live. A bunch of idiots, says that gentleman. It does seem a bit of a shambles.
Well, first I'd like to say I'm really, really sorry that we failed those customers. We clearly didn't reach our own high standards, but a bunch of idiots, I think is very harsh. I think the vast majority of people get an excellent service from HMRC, and our staff do a very difficult job and they do it very well.
Well, you say high standards, but actually last year 87,000 complaints, and in 1 month you only answered a third of telephone calls. That's not a high standard, surely.
Well, I think you have to see that in the context of 45 million customers that we're serving. And yes, from time to time we make mistakes, and from time to time we have particular issues in the demand for our services. But we do need to remember that we did answer 60 million calls. We did help 60 million people on our telephone services last year.
You did admit also that there is great rudeness. You know, that, well, what right have your people to be rude to customers?
Well, I think that the vast majority of our staff give a very polite and excellent service, and indeed we measure that. We listen into calls and we get feedback from all of our customers tested independently, and that's not what people tell us. Inevitably, there will be occasions when people do, under a lot of pressure from customers, perhaps fail to meet that standard.
Well, Mrs. Stuthy, in fact, the Select Committee said they thought your assessment was unrealistic compared to what they found. I mean, how can you possibly, you know, the staff morale is startling and dire. How are you going to improve things?
Well, I think that we realise that we don't have the sort of engagement in HMRC in its total agenda. The organisation has gone through a lot of change, but our people are incredibly passionate about the work they do.
And
they take their customers very seriously.
we haven't got much time. Well, you know, there is no redress. I mean, if my tax is wrong and you don't answer my calls, where do people go? They can't go to the small claims court. Who do they complain to? Who are you accountable to?
Well, you know, I am accountable to the taxpayer. I'm accountable to all of those customers.
Like it, though, does it?
And at the end of the day, I am very, very sorry, and I take every failure personally. But we do still serve most customers with an excellent service.
But Mrs. Stuthy, someone paid £1.5 million they shouldn't have been paid, and an elderly gentleman 11 tax codes this year. A woman told 3 times that she's dead.
They're all very regrettable, but again, that is one part of the organisation. At the end of the day, we did collect 435 billion in taxes. We do protect revenues, and in many cases, yes, we do have to check people's claims for repayments to make sure that they are valid. We do have a lot of attacks on our systems.
Mrs. Stuthy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
To comment on that or any of tonight's stories, just send us an email. watchdog@bbc.co.uk is the address. You can text us by dialing 83199 and starting your message with the letters WD. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Details of how to join the discussion are on your screens now. Coming up, we've the latest on the household paints that are stinking the place out. And I've been sent on a tour of some of the smelliest rooms in Britain. Oh my goodness me. Have I done something to upset someone round here?
You're all right with me, unlike tonight's rogues. There are few things that get us as angry on rogue traders as pressure selling to the elderly. And there are few companies who are more committed to screwing every possible penny out of our grannies and grandpas than the one that we've got tonight. You may not believe your eyes, but you do need to keep them peeled.
Because here's a shocking fact, most of us are going to get old. However agile and jump on a bike you might feel right now, there'll come a time when you need a bit of help.
So, what we're dealing with? Dump-proofing? Burglary alarms?
I'm afraid it's worse than that, Dan.
Dogs? Pets?
No, tonight it's mobility and healthcare products. The point being that by definition, the people being sold to are already in a bit of a fix.
Oh, so oldies and people with non-working legs, yeah?
Amongst others.
Marilyn Bauer thought she'd made sure her mother-in-law, Ada, would be properly looked after when she went for a week's holiday. But on the night she got back, there was a nasty surprise.
Marilyn, what was the first that you knew about the visit that your mother-in-law had received?
We had a call from a police officer who was at my mother-in-law's house. She was really distraught. She had signed a contract for a rise and recliner chair at a cost of £1,700.
A massive amount of money for Ada, a pensioner on a fixed income. She'd been visited twice by Stuart Young, a salesman from ABM Mobility of Nottingham. He took cash and a cheque from the 82-year-old before returning for a third time for yet more money. What made this all the more shocking to Marilyn is that Ada has dementia. It's now so bad, she's too frail to appear on television.
I don't know how he managed it, but he got her bank details and he took it from her bank account.
What was your reaction?
My husband and I were really, really angry. On the Monday, I telephoned ABM Mobility and asked the manager if he would refund the money and cancel the contract. And he said, unfortunately, no, it's outside of the 7-day calling-off period. And he didn't take on board anything I was saying about my mother-in-law's vulnerability or her condition.
Did you get the chance to investigate whether the sum of money that Ada paid represented good value for money?
I certainly did. As I say, she paid £1,700, and I do know you can get a similar product for considerably less.
It's time to invite ABM Mobility to this house to meet this old lady who's not quite as frail as she's pretending. ABM Mobility have stopped answering their phones, and in their place, Virgo Healthcare Limited has sprung up, based in the very same building in Nottingham. Here comes the Virgo van now, and on the back window, a botched paint job trying to conceal the ABM Mobility logo.
Here she comes.
Oh, hello.
It's a sales lady.
Woman.
Interesting.
But of course irrelevant. Making her way up our path is Virgo's Emma White. The actress playing our old lady May has called head office and said she's interested in a mobility scooter. But will she get a pressure sell from this rep? The question is, knocker or doorbell?
Doorbell. I thought so.
OK, dear.
Hi, mate. It's Emma from Virgo Healthcare.
Oh, right, come in.
Watching the action is Ray Hodgkinson MBE, Director General of the British Healthcare Trades Association.
We're a private mobility company and we sell mobility products. So what I do is I come out and I do a mobility assessment with you. Now then, medical problems that you suffer with.
Just my hips, really.
May has said she's interested in a scooter to help her get down to the shops, but expert Ray thinks this assessment is part of a plan to sell a range of products for the elderly, such as special chairs or mattresses, or machines to help you in and out of the bath.
Have you ever had any strokes or...?
Oh, no.
No. Oh, that's good.
No.
No heart attacks or anything like that? No. Now then, how are you getting on having a bath?
Here comes the bath lifter now.
So if I can have a look at your mattress,
Here we go. Here comes the bed.
bathroom.
Remember, she came to sell a scooter.
With the seeds of a package sale sown, Virgo saleswoman Emma White heads off around the house with May to seal the deal.
Oh.
Emma finally takes May for a spin on the scooter she originally called about, before heading into the living room to talk money.
For the bath lift, it'd be £2,000.
Right.
The scooter is £3,300. Now the mattress, that's £1,500.
That seems expensive.
It is expensive and a classic pressure sales ploy to start with very high prices, so when the salesperson drops them, the client feels they're getting a bargain.
For everything, in total, it would have worked out at £7,000.
Right.
Take off the 10% discount, brings it down to just £6,300.
6,300 is a lot of money.
Now for the bit salespeople call the close. It's where you actually agree to buy something. When a salesperson won't take no for an answer, it's called pressure selling. So we've popped a little counter in the corner of the screen. It counts every time May says she doesn't want to buy today. We call it the no-ometer. Oh, best we could do.
Think about it. It's a little bit more than I anticipated.
If I can get enough knocked off that, do you think that you'd like to go for them?
Place your bets. How no will she go? And if you are going to have a flutter, make sure to aim high. You see, we don't know Emma White's middle name, but Relentless would be appropriate. As for some of her workmates, trust me, you'll be thinking up a few other names.
Next, the latest on Crown Paint. Remember, it advertises its Breathe Easy range as virtually odour-free, but customers' complaints continue to come in. A home smell of sewage, cat pee, rotten eggs. It's not our paint, say Crown, it's your walls. They contain bacteria and chemicals that cause the stench. Crown claim only 1 in 100,000 homes are affected and say it's an industry problem, not just their brand of paint that makes walls stink. So, what's happened since Watchdog revealed the problem?
Phew-wee! It's the disgusting smell that's driving you up your stinky walls.
Bonkers.
I hate to tell you this, Barbara, but your room stinks. 2 weeks ago, Crown told us their smelly paint affected just 1 in 100,000 walls. But since then, you've continued to contact us by email, on the blogs, and even sending in your own home videos. So what does it smell of?
Cat pee.
Just dirty, kind of a urine.
A damp cloth that's been left to rot.
We thought maybe we had a drainage problem.
An overpowering smell of ammonia, a smell like wee.
Many of you are complaining about Crown's Breathe Easy brand, the stuff they market as
Crown Breathe Easy virtually odour-free paint has no lingering smell. So you can get back in the room in no time.
Well, you wouldn't want to sleep in here, to be honest.
Like Terry Carter in Southampton, many of you are angry because you bought Crown's Breathe Easy paint, especially because they said it wouldn't smell. But what about another Crown claim, that this is an industry-wide problem? I went to Gloucester to meet Barbara Hancock.
It's really strong. This is the strongest I've smelled. It's really strong. It hits you as soon as you walk into this room.
Yeah.
It smells like cat pee. How do you feel about it?
Well, annoyed really, because I just don't know what to do to get rid of the smell.
And is this Crown paint on the wall then?
No, this is Dulux.
So the UK's leading paint brand, who sell 40 million tins a year, have a similar problem. But what's causing the stink that's affecting so many houses? Well, as Crown told me in a meeting in London a few weeks ago, they're convinced the answer lies closer to home. Here's the crux. Crown say this isn't a problem with their paint, but your potentially smelly walls. Funnily enough, you weren't too happy to hear that.
I would like them to admit that it is their paint and to resolve it and to give us the correct paint to apply to the walls and for them to do it, to be honest.
But it isn't just Crown who are blaming the walls. The Paint Research Association agrees and says work to isolate the exact causes is continuing. It added that manufacturers have had to reduce the amount of solvent in the paint due to stricter regulations. That means smells from certain walls that were previously masked are now sometimes more apparent. And don't these Watchdog viewers know it? There are loads of them, all with stinking walls and wondering what to do next. And there may be many more of you who are worried you'll have a foul odour the next time you decorate. DIY SOS! Well, Dulux have told us since that they sell more than 40 million cans of paint annually and have had just 11 complaints about odour issues in the last year. They say they're thoroughly investigating each case to help every customer find a solution. Crown told us they're committed to continuing their tests and establishing the cause of the wall odour phenomenon on behalf of the paint industry. They're urging all customers who have the problem to contact them directly so they can provide advice and assistance. The number of their dedicated helpline is on your screen now, and you can also find it on our website.
Now, sterling's rising against the euro up to a 19-month high this week, a pound to 1.2 euros. But as millions prepare to go on holiday, they're in danger of seeing those gains wiped out. On the other hand, they could listen to Martin Lewis.
The big questions everybody asks are, should I spend on my card or should I get cash out? If I do get cash out, should I do it before I go, at the airport, or once I get there?
In the UK, we spend nearly £300 million on cash withdrawal fees alone when we're abroad, never mind other charges. So, today, I'm here to do a full-on travel spending, money-saving, foreign cash clinic to see whether I can save people cash.
Do you follow my advice when you go and spend abroad? How do you do it?
Euros, take my own cash.
Did you pay on your debit card or did you pay in cash at the Bureau de Change?
Cash.
Well done. High five. Did you pay in cash or did you pay on a card?
A card.
Which card?
Barclays.
So Barclays Debit card?
Debit card.
Got bad news for you here. If you pay for Bureau de Change money on your Barclays debit card, you will have to pay Barclays a fee because they count it as if you've taken money out of a cash machine abroad. If you're going to get money from a Bureau de Change in this country, the best and safest way to do it is to pay in cash. But what about cards?
Halifax debit card, I know, they're not supposed to be really
No, it's not just they're not good. Risk. Where are you flying off to? Are you all on the same crew?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Rose.
So what have we got in there? Bad.
Bad?
Bad. NatWest is what debit card is one of my cards from hell. If you spend on this when you're abroad, they charge you a fee each time you spend on it. There are much better cards than that. Barclays, medium. Medium. It doesn't charge you a fee, but it does load just like NatWest does. So it's not the best exchange rate in the world. Ooh, what have you got? Look, Lloyds TSB debit card, another card from hell, that one. That will charge you when you spend on it. Debit or credit card, which do you think's worse?
Credit.
Wrong. Don't assume debit cards are cheapest when you're abroad. Cleared credit cards can often be the winner. Which do you think is cheaper for spending abroad? So the RBS debit card or the HSBC credit card?
I would say that would be cheaper, right?
In your case, if you go abroad, it is cheaper for you to spend on the HSBC credit card than the RBS debit card. The wrong credit and debit cards can cost you a fortune when you're abroad, but plastic is the cheapest way to spend when you're overseas. There are 5 good cards. Use one of those, you can save up to 6% on the cost of your holiday. I mean, some people will save even more than that compared to the cards from hell. It could be hundreds of pounds, but in that queue over there, I've not found one good one yet.
Well, I've got cash and I've got the nationwide credit card that you recommend.
Woohoo! I got one. I told you I'd get one. I got one. I cannot teach you anything more. Have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you.
Bye. Yes, got one.
OK, Mr Wisdom is here. The NatWest card, the card from hell. You've made friends with them.
Just one of my cards from hell. This is the point. Almost every card adds a load, so you don't get a brilliant exchange rate. Every credit card and almost every debit card charge you when you withdraw cash from a machine abroad. The reason I call these specific cards, I'm going to show you cards from hell, is they charge you a spending penalty too. That means if you buy something that costs £5 worth of euros, you'll actually pay £6.50 because they add £1.50 on top. Do that 20 times in the holiday, it's 30 quid. And those cards are the NatWest debit, not credit card, the Halifax debit, not credit card, the Lloyds TSB debit, not credit card, the RBS debit, not credit card, the Santander debit, that's your bank account card, not credit card, and guess what? The Bank of Scotland debit card.
So all debit cards?
All of them. Do not use those cards to spend on when you're abroad. Simple.
But you're OK using them here?
Fine, they're fine for using here, and even if you had one and you had no choice, withdraw cash on it in a lump sum, don't spend on it.
These are good people.
Now, these are my good cards. These give you the best possible exchange rate. Most cards add a load when you spend, so you buy something that costs £100 worth of euros and you have to pay £102.75p for it, but it doesn't break it out on your statement. These cards, in the main, don't. The Santander Zero, lower fees too. That's a good one. The Post Office credit card. Note, they're all credit cards here again, so credit is good. Saga credit card.
You've got to be old to have that.
You've got to be over 50, so you're not eligible, I'm afraid, my love.
No.
That's my way of getting back on the programme again.
Okay.
So that's you've got the nationwide debit and credit card, of course.
Oh, so the nationwide, their debit card...
Their debit card is a goodie.
...is as good as their credit card?
Yes, in fact, the only problem with nationwide is if you go outside Europe, it's a little more expensive than the other good ones, but it's still cheap. However, of course, if you do use a credit card, ensure you set up a direct debit to pay it off in full, or you'll be charged interest, and that ain't good ever.
OK, so I'm at the airport, because it's quite exciting, and you've got plenty of time. You then
I'm
go and get...
already going to tell you off, because you're going to say, should I change money at the airport, aren't you?
Yeah.
Don't.
Right.
It is the single most expensive place to change your money. They know you've got your custom captive, so they charge you more. In fact, if you order from the bureaus that have airport desks, if you order online and pick up at the airport, it's massively cheaper. Even better, go and compare online first. The difference on €500 between the best and the worst rates can be as much as £70 more if you're getting the worst rates. You can do far cheaper by doing a comparison first.
So you order online?
Yes.
And how do you pay?
Well, if you do it online, unless you've got one of the good debit cards, which are a few and they're different for the cards from hell, it's really complicated this, then, well, take the little bit of a hit on the debit card charge because you're still going to get a better rate. But if you're going in person, withdraw cash and get it out, it does make sense, Annie. I promise it does.
And where are you going on holiday?
When we go, we're actually going off to New York, which is lovely, and I've got my specialist card there.
We might all follow you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You come in my suitcase. Don't tell my wife,
Very
though.
exciting. OK, still to come. Hospital car parking. Who tops the list for fines? And where are you most likely to be clamped? And the war on cellulite. M&S say these knickers are the answer. We put them to the test.
Back to Virgo Healthcare Limited now, the Nottinghamshire company that subjects the elderly and incapacitated to high-pressure selling techniques. When we last saw saleswoman Emma White, she was trying to railroad our actress May into buying an overpriced mobility scooter along with a bath lift and a specially adapted mattress. N-O spells no, as any 5-year-old can tell you. It's a lesson Emma White has clearly forgotten.
If I can get enough knocked off that, do you think that you'd like to go for them?
I would, but I'd like to think about it.
And it's another ping on our no-ometer, the counter that tells us how many times the actress May has said she doesn't want to buy anything today. She wants time to think.
Hello? Hey, you all right?
Ah, a classic pressure sales technique, the call to the office, or in the case of this super keen bunch, the call from the office.
I was going to ring you, actually. She likes everything. The only thing that's making her sort of hesitate on going ahead with it is the price. Are you able to take things down?
They are now giving her the impression she's going to get something much less, which is already overpriced.
How much? You joking?
Absolutely classic, this.
No, that'd be brilliant.
But all pre-planned.
And what about the chair raiser?
Taking somebody vulnerable.
Really?
And taking as much money from them as they can.
Right, this is brilliant. It's Stuart that's rang. See how you're getting on. Now, right, what he's saying, he's actually got a couple of solutions for you.
What's that?
If you were to have the demonstration scooter off the one that you've actually sat on today,
Demonstrate. This is the oldest trick in the book.
you could have that for just 1,350. Your mattress is actually doing a big order today, but he's saying if he tags your mattress onto that, he can pass on the discount to you.
That's pressure selling.
Works out less than 5,000.
So we've come from £7,000 down to less than £5,000 in the space of 10 minutes.
No,
That is absolutely classic of pressure selling. That makes me so angry.
By this time, Emma White has been in the house for just under 2 hours.
I'd still like to consult my daughter, though.
If you did change your mind, you've got 7 days to cancel it. You'll get everything reserved at those prices.
It's pressure selling now. Reserved at those prices, indicating they may go up.
I'll phone up my daughter, or I'll get in touch with her, or she'll come over
Do you
and
want
see.
to give her a ring?
No, I won't give her a ring now. She'll be at work. No, if you could just leave me.
Just out of curiosity, what price would it have had to have been for everything?
Don't forget, saleswoman Emma White thinks this is an elderly woman alone in her own home. And what's more, our actress May is showing signs of flagging under the pressure.
I really am absolutely confused now.
What are you confused about?
Well, I'm just confused with all this, you know.
If you do change your mind, then you can always cancel it.
I haven't got to pay any money now, have I?
We do normally take the payment up front for things.
This is pressure selling now, in the true sense. Pay now.
Emma White has failed to persuade May to sign the forms on the basis she can cancel, so it's back on the phone to HQ for yet more price reductions.
Well, he's managed to knock you another £500 off the scooter.
Goodness.
So why didn't they come in with those prices in the first place?
3,925.
Can I keep that bit of paper and I'll show it to my daughter? Can I just leave it for now?
Despite being told again and again she's not interested in buying today, Emma White is still trying to pressure May into paying a deposit.
Hold on 1 second, mate. Sorry, what did you say, Stuart? What could you manage? £2,000? 1,000, then we can guarantee all those prices for you.
No, I don't really want to give you any money today. No, I really, really want the things, but I'd rather just...
That's the only sheet it is, look, and it'll take me 2 minutes to do it. If you want to do that, then I can go.
No, I don't think you better.
Dreadful pressure selling. No.
If you don't fancy writing a cheque, we could do it on a debit card.
No, honestly.
An ethical business would not do that. They'd have taken the message and moved on.
Thing is, mate, what you'll end up doing, you'll probably go to sleep, have a bit of a rest, wake up, and then wish that you'd have done it, wouldn't you?
Do you mind if you just go and leave me up?
Yeah, that's fine, mate. I'll just leave it for you.
After 2 hours and 18 minutes and at least 16 refusals, Emma White finally leaves May alone.
That's bad. Let's find her.
You know what I'm going to say now, don't you?
Let's have an ice cream.
No, I'm going to say, is she just a rogue individual sales
person,
or is she the product of a rogue company?
And you have reason to believe she might be?
As I'm about to explain in voiceover.
The man Emma White was talking to back at head office was called Stuart Young. He couldn't be the same Stuart Young we came across earlier, overcharging a woman with dementia. He worked for ABM Mobility, and Emma White's van used to have ABM Mobility written on the back window, but her business card reads Virgo Healthcare Limited. It sounds like ABM has changed its name, but why? Could it be because Derbyshire Trading Standards received more than 300 complaints about ABM in 2009? So many they took out an injunction to make them trade fairly.
That was very eliminating, but how are you going to find out about the new company?
See over there? Look. It's a mould.
Oh.
Yes, a man on the inside. Our man Moley is about to start a training course that will reveal all of Virgo Healthcare's pressure sales secrets.
And when you hear those secrets, you'll be amazed. For instance, this guy who's just pressured a stroke victim into handing over nearly $2.5 grand.
Bring the checkbook down. Check.
It was like nicking a Mars bar off a baby. So in 2 hours, we've walked out with 2,300 quid. How the is that possible?
Salesman Mark Murphy, prepared to take a bow. You and a few of your colleagues are about to be famous, but I don't think anyone will be after your autograph.
Now remember these, the best-selling anti-cellulite Knickers from Marks & Spencer's. They cost £29.50 and contain aloe vera, vitamin E and caffeine. M&S say they reduce the visible signs of cellulite, but some medical experts accused M&S of failing to provide evidence. Ordinary tight-fitting pants would have the same effect, they say. Who's right? We set up our own experiment.
Take 5 women, each wanting to know whether these pants really can combat cellulite. And all, how can I put this, very honest.
I've had cellulite for many years and I've been going to the gym religiously for 10 years, 3 or 4 times a week. I still have cellulite.
I know that I've got cellulite. In fact, I've got more than I thought I had, all around my legs. It's been there for years. I've done everything you should and everything you shouldn't. Nothing makes any difference.
I'm just willing to give anything a go, really. Give it a try and see what happens.
We took them all to see top plastic surgeon Mr. Douglas McGeorge.
So what we're going to do here, that's a little bit cramped for space, but if I just bring you across here, and I'm just going to stand you in front of there, and I'm just going to lift up your gown, and if I get you to hold it at the front there, and you can see you've got here the rippling from cellulite, which is quite marked, and I'm just going to take a measurement around your thigh at that point.
The consultant helped us devise the experiment as he believes M&S is making unproven claims about the pants.
This trial has been done because Marks & Spencer's are making claims about their pants that they improve or help cellulite. I question the claims made about them. Marks & Spencer's have provided some information which they say justifies those claims, but I don't think it stands up to scientific scrutiny.
Following their consultation, our 5 women agreed to swap their knickers for the M&S pants, but only on the right leg. On the left leg, we asked them to wear pants of an equivalent shape, size and elasticity, without the additives.
The best control that we could use is to actually use the patients themselves, and so we're using the Marks & Spencer's pants on one thigh and using ordinary compression pants on the other thigh, just to see if there's a difference between the two.
They'll be wearing them for 28 days, 8 to 10 hours a day, just like it says on the label. But which one will triumph? The M&S anti-cellulite pants or the bog standard tight ones? Let the experiment begin. After one day, the discomfort of our unique pant combo was too much for 2 of our volunteers, and who can blame them? But these 3 managed to carry on. 9 days later, we caught up with beauty therapist Linda.
Wearing the knickers for work hasn't been too constrictive at all. The first day was strange and quite uncomfortable, but they're not too bad. On a hot day like today, I think you probably get the added benefit of possibly losing weight by excessive perspiration.
Others weren't finding the going so easy. Faith runs a hair salon in Chester.
Very warm in here tonight, isn't it? I could moan though, having to wear these blooming knickers. You're supposed to wear them at least 8 to 10 hours. I actually time myself. It's that bad.
What do they like to look at? I mean, you know.
Oh, they're very attractive. They're like something my nana used to wear, yeah.
Oh, let's have a look. Oh.
16 days into the experiment, and Helen, a fitness instructor and receptionist, is noticing a change.
I feel a lot smoother when wearing them along the back, and this is where I've noticed the cellulite reduction here. And on this leg in particular, we've noticed at the front and at the sides here. And they do make you feel a lot more streamlined as well. So obviously, like if you were on a night out wearing a dress underneath, it is quite a good way of just taking a few inches off your waist and everything as well.
But has it all been worth it? It's now been 28 days and the volunteers have stuck rigorously to the routine.
Now, if I can just disturb you for a moment and we'll take you through and just do your measurements.
They're back with Douglas for the final assessment.
We'll just have a little look and see if the texture has changed at all, and see if there's any difference between the two. It'll be interesting to go back and compare with the pre-operative pictures.
Douglas has examined the participants and the valiant trio can finally whip off their pants.
And that's what I think of them.
But what are the findings?
Well, our lovely guinea pigs are here, Linda, Helen and Faith, along with the consultant plastic surgeon you saw in the film, Douglas McGeorge, who presumably make a lot of women very happy.
I do my best.
Good. Now, not a scientific experiment.
No, it's only a small group,
yeah,
that's for certain.
But nevertheless, the pants were on, the knickers were on for a month.
They were on for a month. We were able to get a control with the patient acting as their own control, and we were unable to show any difference between the two sides.
OK, let's start with Linda. What happened there?
Well, Linda, if you look at her, you'll see that her skin is a little bit smoother afterwards, which may be an abrasive effect. There's, if anything, a very slight softening in the contours of the cellulite, but her leg dimensions are exactly the same as they were pre-treatment.
OK, just that the before shot's on the left, the after on the right.
Yes.
Very little difference.
Very little difference.
And
indeed.
no difference between the left and the right.
No difference between left and right that you can discern at all.
OK, Helen, what happened with there?
Well, Helen's interesting because we did get a small difference in the measurements between her left
leg. Again.
OK, appearance.
Before is on the left.
Very similar appearance. They feel smoother
After
again,
on the right.
maybe because of the abrasive effect.
Yeah.
But she does actually have a small difference in the circumference on the left leg, it being half a centimetre smaller. That's interesting because actually that's not the Marks and Spencer's pants. Those are the other pants.
Just ordinary, bog standard.
Ordinary elastic pants, and I'm sure that's what's making the difference.
Really? Any explanation for that?
I think if you put compression, you do squeeze the tissues a little bit.
And finally, Faith.
Again, for Faith, very little difference between the pre and post, just a little bit softer if you look at it, but again, there's no difference between left and right.
OK, girls, what did you think? What did you think, Helen?
I wouldn't spend that money. If I was spending that money, I'd buy something pretty and sexy
Yeah.
and nothing as
Too
grim.
uncomfortable?
They were not very comfortable and they were too hot.
Helen?
I didn't find them as uncomfortable, but just for the overall effort, really, I just think I wouldn't rush out and buy them, though.
Absolutely hated all of it. I mean, they're not exactly pulling knickers.
So if they don't work, you're the consultant, how do you get rid of our cellulite?
Sadly, there is no way of getting rid of cellulite. There are things that may improve cellulite over a short period of time,
Like?
but there is nothing. Well, you can use compression devices that create a bit of swelling, stiffens the skin and improves the appearance, but of course, once the swelling
goes
down,
back.
it goes back to as you were
Can't you
before.
use a laser, or as you can on your face?
They've tried lots of different modalities, and you can get some improvement, but I'm afraid cellulite is just one of those things that's part of growing up.
Are they still researching it? Is there hope for us women?
If you can find a cure for cellulite, I'm sure you'll be very popular as a surgeon.
Oh dear, OK. Anita?
Well, M&S have given us this statement. Watchdog's wearer trials back at what our scientific tests have proven, that this product visibly reduces signs of cellulite. Customer feedback is always welcome, and we'd like to hear more about the volunteers' experience of wearing this product to ensure we continue to offer customers the highest quality products. Meanwhile, let's get an update on some of your texts and emails, and lots of angry taxman emails tonight, like this one. The HMRC are very quick to fine you if you make a simple mistake. They charge you interest too, but if they owe you money, they hold on to it for ages and don't pay a penny in interest. It's double standards, pure and simple. Annie.
Thanks, Anita. And thanks for getting in touch about those stories. Here's a few more. A bunch of sour grapes to the Epsom and St Helier NHS Trust. It's just been named England's biggest hospital car park clamper. It came top of the list after immobilising more than 1,600 cars last year at a profit of £1.8 million. The biggest issuer of fines was Leeds General Infirmary. It handed out more than 10,000 penalty notices. And Barnet and Chase Farm Hospitals Trust in North London had the highest minimum car parking charge, £4 for a 2-hour stay. Enough to make you ill.
A bride-to-be from Ipswich has taken a novel form of revenge on travel company Thomas Cook, who she accuses of screwing up her honeymoon plans. Austin Kettle, who is due to marry in February, had booked the 2-week holiday to Gambia under her married name of Leeks. She later tried to change the booking to her maiden name so that it matched the one on her passport, but the company said they'd have to charge her. Now she's hit back, changing her name by deed poll to Mrs. Lorraine Darla. I hate Thomas Cook and its associates. Big shot company treading on the little guy. Leeks. Stick that on your boarding pass. She admits it is a bit crazy, as now her groom will have to repeat all of that in front of the congregation when they take their wedding vows. The rumours are that the vicar is now planning to take February off too.
Going to the World Cup? Well, switch off your mobile. British tourists travelling outside Europe have been warned they could run up huge phone bills this summer. While the EU caps the cost of making calls, sending texts and downloading data, other countries don't. That means using a mobile to upload photos from this month's tournament in South Africa could cost a fortune, up to £80 for just 10 snaps, while using a smartphone to join a post-match chat on a social networking site could also prove pricey. Consumer groups are campaigning for the EU limits on tariffs to be extended to the rest of the world, which will come as a relief to fans and one or two of the players.
Right, we're closing in on Virgo Healthcare Limited, who we've seen trying to browbeat senior citizens and vulnerable people into buying overpriced mobility products. But we haven't shown you the half of it yet. Let's just say this, we've left them till last in the series, because there's no way we could follow what you're about to see.
One of our team has got a job as a trainee salesman at the company and he's about to get a masterclass in pressure selling. I'm watching the action with Ray Hodgkinson MBE, Director General of the British Healthcare Trades Association. Our man's being trained by Sam Routh, who calls himself the General Manager. And he's talking prices, big prices, and lots of them.
Start with this price or above, then we're happy. The second price is that's printed out is what we recommend that you sell these products at, which is around about £1,000 over what the product is. Personally, if I was you, no matter what house, I go in at that big price.
So straight away there, we've got two prices for the same product. Every product has got two prices.
It's again part of the technique.
It's all about profit, charging as much as possible for each product. Here's an example. These salesmen are being taught to pitch a bath lift to clients at £2,100. The lowest price we found on the net, less than £500. And it's about commission. The more a salesman can get away with charging, the more they pocket themselves.
Say we're talking about the two-gun product again. If you sell it for £2,000, you now get 12% of the value. So 240 quid. So I can put £2,000. You get your 12%, which you get 50% of APO.
50.
Yeah. So you get £740
So once these guys sell at a price higher than a certain point, they're on 50% commission.
It is a great motivator to sell at the higher price.
And this guy is very motivated.
When I was back in the field 2 weeks ago, if you went to this house, it was the scruffiest, smelliest, awful house you'd ever seen in your life. I sold him a dual bowel bed for £5,300. Sold him, went back in and sold him a Mini 4 Plus scooter.
Which was that?
Mini 4 Plus.
Oh yeah, the 3,200 one, yeah.
That for £5,200. I managed to sell him a rising recline chair for £4,600, so altogether I got £15,000 out of that one customer.
Wow, that's a...
And you never question the prices?
No.
Oh, that's just robbery, isn't it? That's dreadful.
So the Virgo price is whatever the salesman thinks they can get away with.
That's what's being suggested.
Molly soon finds that this kind of pressure selling is a team game. Just as we saw with our actress May, the salesperson always makes that call to HQ.
Do you keep them on the phone while you do it? You do. You keep them on the phone while you do it so they can hear the conversation going backwards and forwards.
And just who might it be on the other end of the phone?
We've got Emma White and Stuart Young, who's...
Emma White, right. Stuart Young, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be the people that you're going to ring to close your deals.
It's our old friend, Stuart Young, the ABM salesman who so disturbed an elderly lady with dementia she called the police, and pressure seller Emma White, who visited May earlier in the programme. It seems that these people aren't rotten apples after all. They've both been promoted. With the 3 mornings of training concluded, Moley heads out onto the open road to shadow super salesman Mark Murphy. His job is to show trainee salesman Moley how the theory works in practice. We'd already been shocked by the way the company teaches its salespeople to manipulate customers, but nothing could have prepared us for what we were about to hear.
Last week, I went to see a guy. 7 days later, he died. Thankfully, it's outside of the cancellation notice. I'm sorry about that, but that's how it happens, you know what I mean? So I've still got my £2 commission coming on that. It's remarkable how God works. Right. If you ever wanted someone to turn the toes up, having paid a load of dough, this was your guy.
He's celebrating the death of one of his customers because it means he couldn't cancel his order and he still gets his commission. Keep watching, everyone. I think we've got something quite special here.
Mark from Virgo Healthcare. How are you?
Moley and Mark Murphy arrive at their appointment. They've come to meet a man in his mid-80s who's expressed an interest in an armchair adapted to help him stand up because he's had 2 strokes, but he doesn't want to buy today.
At the moment, no, thank you. Okay.
It's heard it all, hasn't it, in the future?
Despite meeting resistance, Mark Murphy continues with the same pressure sales techniques we've already seen.
Because of his age, it offers him a further 10% discount.
After more than 1 hour and 40 minutes of pressure selling, Mark Murphy gets his sale.
Bring the checkbook down. No, check.
Do you want to do the check?
Check too.
Back in the car, Murphy takes a few moments to congratulate himself on his latest triumph.
Is that a masterclass in perseverance? Do not leave the beach. Do not ever leave the beach and think it's a dead deal. It was like nicking a Mars bar off a baby. So in 2 hours, we've walked out with 2,300 quid. How the is that possible? That's about 500 quid's worth of commission there for 2 hours' work.
Mark Murphy's keen to relive every moment of the sale and even mimics the way a stroke has affected his customer's speech.
Because I said, look, you know, which one would you prefer? A day's chair or a bespoke? Bespoke. So if I could get you a bespoke chair, would you have one? It depends on the price.
What are we dealing with here? This man who's driving the car and imitating the speech impediment of his customer while rejoicing in the fact that he's taken thousands of pounds off him.
I think he's just a callous individual whose only interest is self-interest. It appalls me.
Who's to blame here? Who should we point the finger at? Is it the company or is it the individual salespeople?
I think they're all to blame because they're all party to a particular technique of pressure selling.
If that's the case, then we need to put a few tough questions to the de facto boss of ABM Mobility, and now Virgo Healthcare Limited, this man, Amarjit Gill. We're waiting for him as he arrives at his offices. Hello Amarjit, how you doing? Matt Allwright, BBC Rogue Traders, it's good to see you. Yep. I'll just ask you, do you have parents? Because I find it very difficult to believe that anybody that has parents of their own could run the sort of business that you do, the sort of business that appears to be based on bullying old people in their own homes into buying things for thousands of pounds. We've seen your salesman at work. It's a pretty unpleasant thing. Wow, is this what you're driving these days? So when you run a business which has a commission structure like the one that yours has, then what you're going to get is misbehaving salesmen. It's natural that that's what's going to be the product, isn't it? How does that feel? If that was your parents in that situation, how would you feel? Amarjit Gill, making his way off in a lot of German car. A new one of those costs as much as 160,000 fully loaded, which is what we assume Mr. Gill is. Before we go, we decide it's a good idea to let Virgo's neighbours know to look out for them on Rogue Traders. And as a little bonus, General Manager Sam Routh shows up for work.
Hi, Sam, how you doing? Morning, how you doing? Yeah, Matt, all right, BBC Road Traders.
He can't possibly be as lost for words as his boss.
You have a structure, a commission structure, which rewards people by paying them 50% over a certain point. So they're bound to ask for more money than that is actually worth after your training.
At the end of the day, everybody's got to make a living.
Not that way. Not that way. Not from the elderly and vulnerable, Sam. We've seen you boasting in your sales talks about the amount of money that you can make out of people. We've seen Mark Murphy saying it's like taking a Mars bar from a child. We've seen Emma White pressure selling. When is this going to stop?
I've got no further comments, mate.
See you, Sam. Keep up the terrible work. We should point out that 2 of the customers featured tonight have received their money back. It's also important to state that Virgo Healthcare Limited is based in Long Eaton in Nottinghamshire and is not to be confused with any companies which might have the same or a similar name. Virgo has so far failed to give any response at all to what you've seen on your screens tonight. But while we're waiting, its boss, Amarjit Gill, along with salesman Mark Murphy, Sam Routh and saleswoman Emma White, get the Rogues Gallery all to themselves.
And that's almost it for tonight and this series, but please do keep sending us your stories and tip-offs. bbc.co.uk/watchdog and click where it says your story, or you can write to us. The address is on your screens now. Matt, every week Rogue Traders is just a shocking story, but this week, unbelievable, just utterly shameful.
I think it's shocking, I mean, to see what happens in people's houses and that their relatives might not know about it. That's the scary thing. We'll see what's going to happen. But in the meantime, remember last week's pushy salesman, Chris Hook, the guy who tried to frighten an old lady into buying burglar alarms?
Yes, I remember him well.
OK, well, his employers, Direct Response Security, say that having watched our footage, they have now terminated his contract.
I would say that's a result which is good because lots of our viewers have been asking for an update on that. Some of your texts and emails, more than 600 of you have been in touch about HMRC tonight. I've got one here saying, I work for HMRC. Staff were overworked and underpaid. Morale was appalling. There was overwhelming. It was overwhelming, but there was a freeze on recruitment. And this one, HMRC are a shambles, but please think of the staff who are working hard against impossible odds.
Got another one here. I've worked for HMRC for 20 years, not me, him. The last 2 years have been the worst in the department's history. A huge backlog of work due to a new system. There's currently a 40-day wait for replying to customers' letters. It's clear they've got some sorting out to do. Wouldn't you say?
I think so.
Annie.
OK, well, thanks to everyone who's been watching this series and to everyone who's been in touch. We're taking a summer break, but Watchdog will be back on air at the beginning of September. Until then, from all of us on the team, good night.